The signal appeared on Dr. Sarah Chen's monitor at 3:47 a.m. Earth Standard Time. At first, she dismissed it as another deep space anomaly, one of the countless electromagnetic echoes that ripple through the cosmos. But as she studied the pattern, her hands began to tremble. After 15 years at the Deep Space Listening Array in New Zealand, she knew the difference between natural phenomena and artificial signatures. The signal pulsed with mathematical precision, a clear sign of intelligent design. What made it extraordinary wasn't just its artificial nature, but its origin. It was coming from multiple directions simultaneously, as if someone had surrounded Earth's solar system in a perfect sphere of transmission points. Within hours, every major observatory on Earth confirmed her findings. The signal contained more than just mathematical sequences. It carried data packets, images, and what appeared to be a universal translation key. Humanity's first contact with an advanced civilization wasn't a dramatic spacecraft landing or a mysterious monolith. It was an elegant demonstration of computational linguistics. The stellar Concordat, as they called themselves, emerged from hyperspace 3 months later. Their ships appeared simultaneously above every major city on Earth, each vessel a masterpiece of engineering that seemed to bend light itself around its crystalline hull. Their message was simple. They had been watching humanity for centuries, waiting for the right moment to make contact. Admiral James Torres stood on the deck of the newly commissioned UES Humanity's Hope, watching as Concordat representatives arrived for the first official diplomatic meeting. The aliens moved with an otherworldly grace, their iridescent bodies shifting colors in response to their environment. Their spokesman, who called himself First Speaker Nexus, addressed the assembled human leadership with perfect clarity through their translation devices. "We bring you greetings from the 5,000 species of the stellar Concordat," Nexus announced, his form shifting to a calming blue hue. "Your species has shown remarkable potential. We offer you membership in our federation, access to technologies that will eliminate disease, hunger, and environmental degradation. We ask only that you allow us to guide your development, to ensure your transition to an interstellar civilization proceeds smoothly." The next 6 months saw unprecedented advancement in human technology. Concordat engineers helped establish matter replication facilities that ended resource scarcity overnight. Their medical technology cured diseases that had plagued humanity for millennia. Their environmental restoration systems began reversing centuries of damage to Earth's biosphere. But Dr. Chen couldn't shake a growing sense of unease. The Concordat's technology was impressive, yet they seemed reluctant to explain the underlying principles. Their representatives were always polite, always helpful, but they deflected certain questions with practiced skill. Why were there no young members of their species present? Why did they never discuss their own homeworld? In her spare time, she began analyzing the original signal pattern that had announced their arrival. Something about its distribution bothered her. The perfect sphere of transmission points suggested a level of coordination that went beyond mere technological advancement. It felt like a net cast around Earth with precise calculation. As she dug deeper into the signal structure, she discovered layers of encrypted data that her initial analysis had missed. The Concordat hadn't just been watching Earth. They had been studying humanity's response patterns, testing our reactions to various stimuli. The signal itself had been a sophisticated psychological assessment tool. One evening, as she worked late in her lab, she received an unexpected visitor. A junior Concordat scientist named Echo had been assigned to her facility. Unlike other Concordat members, Echo seemed genuinely curious about humans, often asking questions that his superiors discourage. "Your species puzzles us," Echo admitted, his color shifting to a thoughtful green. "You advance so quickly, adapt so readily. It's unprecedented." The way he said that last word sent a chill down Chen's spine. Before she could press him further, Echo was recalled to the Concordat flagship, and she never saw him again. That night, she sent her findings to Admiral Torres. Through a secure channel, she hoped the Concordat couldn't monitor. Humanity's greatest first contact achievement might also be its greatest vulnerability. And time was running out to discover why. Admiral Torres stared at the encrypted data packet from Dr. Chen, his office aboard the UES Humanity's Hope illuminated only by the holographic display. The information painted a disturbing picture, one that challenged everything humanity thought they knew about their benefactors. Lieutenant Maya Rodriguez, his head of intelligence, had spent the last week cross-referencing Chen's findings with their own observations. She stood before him now, her expression grim as she presented her analysis. "The Concordat's database contains gaps, sir," she explained, bringing up a series of star charts. Entire civilizations that existed in their earlier records simply vanish from later entries. We've identified 23 species that disappeared within months of achieving significant technological breakthroughs. Torres leaned forward, studying the patterns. Could these civilizations have chosen isolation or migrated elsewhere? "That's what we thought at first," Rodriguez replied, pulling up another display. "But we found this buried in their technical archives. They call it the Preservation Protocol." The document detailed the Concordat's true purpose. They saw themselves as gardeners of the galaxy, pruning away species that developed too quickly or in unexpected directions. Their advanced technology wasn't a gift. It was a means of assessment. They watched how rapidly civilizations adapted and integrated new concepts, marking those that learned too quickly for preservation. "They're not mentors," Torres said quietly. "They're hunters." The Concordat strategy was elegant in its simplicity. They approached developing civilizations with offerings of advanced technology, then studied how quickly these societies adapted and improved upon their gifts. Species that showed too much innovative potential were deemed a threat to galactic stability. Dr. Chen's analysis had uncovered something even more chilling. The Concordat's original signal hadn't just been a greeting. It had contained hidden protocols designed to test human response patterns. Humanity's quick understanding and adaptation of the signal's linguistic components had already marked them as a potential threat. Torres authorized a covert operation to gather more intelligence. A team led by Rodriguez began discreetly probing the Concordat systems, using techniques that blended human ingenuity with their newly acquired knowledge of alien technology. What they found confirmed their worst fears. The Concordat had already begun the preliminary stages of their preservation protocol. Their educational facilities were mapping human learning patterns. Their medical centers were collecting genetic data. Every piece of technology they shared contained hidden monitoring systems that assessed how quickly humans mastered and improved upon their designs. Most disturbing of all were the Concordat's observations about human children. They had noted with growing concern how rapidly young humans absorbed and adapted to new concepts. Unlike other species they had encountered, human children showed an almost unlimited capacity for learning and innovation. "They're particularly interested in our military installations," Rodriguez reported, showing footage of Concordat ships conducting what they claimed were routine surveys. "But not in the way we'd expect. They're mapping response times, analyzing how quickly we adapt to new tactical situations. They seem almost afraid of our potential for rapid military innovation." Torres began quietly reaching out to key military and scientific leaders around the world, sharing their findings through secure channels. Humanity needed to prepare, but they couldn't risk alerting the Concordat to their discovery. Dr. Chen continued her work at the listening array, maintaining a facade of cooperation, while secretly developing new technologies that could shield human communications from Concordat surveillance. She worked closely with a team of young engineers who had begun reverse engineering Concordat technology, looking for weaknesses they could exploit. One evening, as Chen reviewed the latest data, she noticed something that made her blood run cold. The Concordat ships had begun moving into new formations, positioning themselves in a pattern that was hauntingly familiar. They were recreating the same geometric configuration as the original signal array that had surrounded Earth. She immediately contacted Torres. "Admiral, they're not preparing for an attack," she said, her voice steady despite her fear. "They're preparing for containment. They mean to isolate us completely before they strike. Torres looked out his window at the Concordat flagship hovering above the Pacific. Its crystalline surface reflected the setting sun, creating a beautiful but ominous display. They had less time than they thought. "How long?" he asked. "Based on their movement patterns, 2 weeks at most," Chen replied. "But sir, there's something else. We've detected unusual energy signatures from their ships. They're not just bringing in more vessels, they're bringing in something bigger, something they've never shown us before." The game of pretense was nearing its end. Humanity had welcomed the Concordat as teachers and friends, only to discover they were dealing with an enemy that saw their very potential as a threat. But in their effort to study humanity, the Concordat had made a crucial mistake. They had given humans access to advanced technology, while underestimating their ability to understand and adapt it. As Torres initiated Earth's covert defense protocols, he realized that humanity's greatest strength might also be its salvation. The Concordat feared human adaptability and innovation for a reason. Now, it was time to show them exactly why. The attack began at dawn. Concordat ships suddenly powered up their weapon systems simultaneously across Earth's orbit. Their crystalline hulls pulsed with energy that human sensors had never detected before. Admiral Torres watched from the bridge of the Humanity's Hope as the massive alien vessels shifted from their familiar translucent state to a deep, threatening crimson. But humanity wasn't as unprepared as the Concordat believed. The moment their ships began powering up, hidden defense systems activated worldwide. Dr. Chen's team had spent weeks secretly modifying the Concordat's own shield technology, developing variants that could respond to their energy signatures. "All stations, execute Protocol Phoenix," Torres commanded, his voice calm despite the chaos unfolding around him. Across the globe, military installations that appeared vulnerable were revealed to be elaborate decoys. The real defense platforms had been hidden underground, underwater, and in orbital positions masked by experimental cloaking technology reverse-engineered from Concordat designs. First Speaker Nexus's voice echoed across all communication channels, its usual melodious tone replaced by cold efficiency. "Your species has developed too rapidly. You represent an unacceptable risk to galactic stability. The preservation protocol must be executed." The Concordat's first strikes targeted major population centers, but their weapons found only empty cities. In the weeks leading up to the attack, humanity had undertaken the largest covered evacuation in history, moving millions of people into sheltered facilities deep underground or in hidden underwater complexes. Lieutenant Rodriguez's voice cut through the command center. "Sir, they're targeting the decoy military bases first, just as predicted. Their tactical algorithms are following the exact patterns we mapped." The Concordat's methodical nature, the very precision that made them so formidable, had become their weakness. Humanity had studied their combat doctrines, hidden in the technical data they'd so generously shared, and predicted exactly how they would strike. Dr. Chen watched from her reinforced laboratory beneath the Pacific as the first phase of humanity's counterattack began. The seemingly primitive satellites that the Concordat had dismissed as obsolete suddenly activated, releasing clouds of engineered particles that their sensors couldn't detect. These particles, inspired by Earth's own deep-sea creatures, could adapt their properties in response to energy emissions. Quantum field interference detected across all Concordat ships, Chen reported, monitoring the data streams. "Their targeting systems are degrading exactly as we hypothesized." The Concordat ships fired their primary weapons, but their usually precise strikes went wild, many missing their targets entirely. The adaptive particle field wasn't just interfering with their targeting systems, it was learning from each shot, becoming more effective with every attack. Torres allowed himself a grim smile. Initiate Phase 2. Around the world, what appeared to be simple cargo vessels suddenly transformed, revealing advanced weapon systems that combined Concordat technology with human innovations. These hybrid ships had been built in secret, using manufacturing facilities that appeared to be producing civilian infrastructure. Your adaptability is impressive, Nexus transmitted, a note of surprise in its artificial voice. But it only confirms the necessity of the preservation protocol. Your species learns too quickly, innovates too readily. You cannot be allowed to continue. The Concordat launched their second wave, deploying smaller attack craft that filled the skies above Earth's major cities. But these fighters encountered another surprise. The atmosphere itself seemed to turn against them. The environmental restoration systems that the Concordat had helped install had been modified, creating controlled atmospheric disturbances that played havoc with their navigation. In orbit, the Humanity's Hope led a fleet of vessels that seemed to violate the Concordat's understanding of human technological capabilities. These ships utilized principles that humanity shouldn't have been able to grasp for centuries, yet they moved with precision and power that matched the alien vessels. "You taught us well," Torres transmitted to the Concordat flagship. "But you forgot something crucial about humans. We don't just learn, we improve. Everything you showed us, we made better." The battle raged across the planet and in orbit, but it wasn't proceeding according to the Concordat's carefully calculated plans. Human forces didn't behave according to their tactical predictions. When they expected humanity to retreat, they attacked. When they predicted an assault, they found elaborate traps. Dr. Chen's voice crackled over the command channel. "Admiral, we're detecting massive energy buildups in the Concordat fleet. They're preparing to deploy something new." The alien ships began moving into a complex geometric pattern, their hulls resonating with energies that made Earth's sensors spike off the charts. Whatever they were preparing, it was beyond anything they had revealed to humanity during their peaceful exchange. "Let them come," Torres replied, activating a secure channel to all Earth forces. "All units, prepare for Phase 3. Show them why they were right to fear human potential." As the Concordat ships completed their formation, humanity prepared to unveil its greatest innovation, one that would demonstrate exactly why their species' capability for rapid advancement made them not just dangerous, but formidable beyond anything their would-be exterminators had imagined. The real battle for Earth's survival was about to begin, and humanity had no intention of following the Concordat script for their extinction. The Concordat's synchronized energy buildup reached its peak, and the space above Earth erupted in a display of power that dwarfed anything humanity had witnessed before. A web of crystalline energy spread between their ships, forming a massive lattice that began to encompass the planet. But Dr. Chen was ready. Her team had theorized the existence of this technology after discovering references to it in the Concordat's restricted databases. They called it the Preservation Matrix, a containment field designed to isolate and neutralize entire civilizations. "Admiral, executing quantum mirror protocol," Chen announced, her fingers flying across her console. Throughout Earth's orbit, hidden satellites activated, releasing streams of particles that had been specifically engineered for this moment. These particles, inspired by Earth's microscopic life forms, could replicate and adapt at an astonishing rate. As the Concordat's energy web expanded, the particles began interacting with it in ways the aliens had never encountered before. Lieutenant Rodriguez monitored the tactical displays as the battle unfolded. "The particle field is working exactly as Dr. Chen predicted. It's not just blocking their containment field, it's learning from it." The Concordat's energy web began to fluctuate, its perfectly synchronized patterns disrupted by humanity's countermeasures. First Speaker Nexus's voice carried a new tone, one that might have been concern if the aliens were capable of such emotion. "This is impossible," Nexus transmitted. "Your level of technological advancement cannot account for this response." Torres allowed himself a grim smile as he watched humanity's true capabilities unfold. "You study our history, our science, our military tactics, but you never truly understood how we think. Humans don't just adapt to survive, we adapt to thrive." Around the planet, humanity's hidden innovations began to emerge. The oceans churned as massive underwater facilities surfaced, revealing advanced manufacturing complexes that had been operating in secret. The seemingly primitive ground-based defensive systems transformed, incorporating technologies that merged Concordat principles with human creativity in ways the aliens had never imagined. Dr. Chen's voice came through the command channel. "Admiral, we're detecting unusual readings from the Concordat fleet. They're attempting to modify their containment field." But she paused, studying the data. "Sir, they're using variations of their base technology that we've never seen before. They're adapting," Torres realized, "just like we do." But there was a crucial difference. The Concordat's adaptations followed logical, predictable patterns, the result of millions of years of carefully controlled evolution. Humanity's changes were chaotic, innovative, unexpected. The battle transformed into a race of technological evolution. Every time the Concordat deployed a new weapon or defense, human forces would analyze, adapt, and counter it within hours instead of the expected centuries. The aliens found themselves facing an enemy that turned their own technology against them in ways they had never anticipated. In her underground laboratory, Dr. Chen made a breakthrough that would change the course of the war. "Admiral, I've identified the fundamental frequency of their quantum communication network. We can do more than just disrupt their systems. We can redirect them." The implications were staggering. The very network that the Concordat used to coordinate their forces could become a weapon against them. Human technicians, trained on Concordat systems, but thinking in uniquely human ways, began infiltrating and reprogramming alien command protocols. Nexus's next transmission contained something new in its artificial voice: confusion. "Your species violates all known parameters of technological development. You are achieving in days what should take centuries. That's because you made a fundamental mistake," Torres replied as he watched human forces push back the Concordat fleet. "You judged us by how quickly we could copy your technology. But humans don't just copy, we innovate. Everything you showed us became a foundation for something new." The Concordat ships began to break formation, their perfectly synchronized movements becoming erratic as human countermeasures took effect. Their energy web, designed to contain and neutralize an entire civilization, was being turned into a transmission medium for human combat algorithms. But victory wasn't assured yet. Deep in space, massive reinforcements were arriving. The Concordat was calling in forces from across their empire. These new ships carried weapons that hadn't been included in the data they'd shared with humanity. Dr. Chen's sensors detected the new arrivals first. "Admiral, the energy readings from these ships, they're operating on principles we haven't seen before. This is their true military technology, not the simplified versions they showed us." Torres watched as the new Concordat vessels moved into attack positions. The real test of humanity's adaptability was about to begin. But as he looked at the determined faces of his crew, he knew one thing with certainty: humanity would find a way. They always did. "All forces, prepare for Phase 4, he commanded. "Let's show them what humanity can really do when we stop playing by their rules." The reinforced Concordat fleet darkened Earth's skies, their advanced warships unleashing weapons that bent space itself. These weren't the elegant, precise strikes of before. This was the full might of an empire that had dominated the galaxy for millions of years. But humanity had been preparing for this moment. Dr. Chen's voice cut through the chaos of battle. "Admiral, initiating Project Prometheus now." Across the globe, hidden quantum transmitters activated simultaneously. These devices, developed in secret by combining human theoretical physics with adapted Concordat technology, began broadcasting on frequencies that the aliens had never conceived possible. "What are you doing?" Nexus demanded, its artificial voice distorting as the quantum interference spread through their fleet. "These principles violate fundamental laws off." "No," Torres interrupted. "They violate your understanding of those laws. Humanity's greatest strength isn't just our ability to learn. It's our ability to question everything, even the supposedly immutable laws of physics. The quantum broadcast carried more than just interference. It carried proof. Proof that the Concordats' understanding of the universe, accumulated over millions of years of careful, controlled advancement, was fundamentally limited by their own methodical nature. Lieutenant Rodriguez's tactical displays show the effect spreading through the Concordat fleet. Their ships' crystalline hulls, designed to channel energy in precise, predetermined ways, began to resonate with frequencies they were never meant to process. "Sir," Rodriguez reported, "we're detecting massive energy fluctuations in their fleet. Their quantum field generators are trying to compensate, but they can't adapt quickly enough to our changes." The Concordat ships began firing desperately, their weapons more powerful than anything they'd revealed before. But each blast was met by defensive systems that seemed to anticipate their attacks, using the aliens' own energy against them in ways that defied their understanding of physics. Dr. Chen's team had discovered something remarkable in their study of Concordat technology. The aliens had built their entire civilization on a carefully controlled understanding of quantum mechanics. They had never encountered a species that could conceive of alternatives to their established principles. "You believe you understand the universe," Torres transmitted to the Concordat fleet, "but you only understand the small part of it that fits within your predetermined parameters. Humanity, we question everything. We imagine possibilities that you would dismiss as impossible, and then we make them real." The quantum broadcast reached its peak, and the effects were devastating. Concordat ships began losing cohesion as their fundamental operating principles were challenged by frequencies that shouldn't have been possible. Their perfect formation dissolved into chaos as each vessel tried to adapt to phenomena that violated everything they knew about physics. First, Speaker Nexus made one final transmission. You are not just advancing too quickly. You are advancing in ways that should not be possible. The universe has rules. The universe has possibilities." Dr. Chen cut in, her voice firm. "Rules are just our way of understanding them. Humanity's gift isn't just adaptation, it's imagination. We see possibilities where you see impossibilities." The battle reached its climax as humanity's forces pressed their advantage. The Concordat fleet, faced with technology that operated outside their understanding of physics, began to retreat. Their carefully planned preservation protocol had been turned against them by a species that refused to be bound by predetermined limits. Torres watched as the alien ships fled, their perfect formations shattered, their unshakable confidence in their superiority broken. But he felt no triumph, only a deep understanding of the responsibility that came with humanity's victory. "All forces, hold position," he commanded. "Let them retreat. We've shown them what humanity is capable of. Now we need to show them something equally important: mercy." In the aftermath of the battle, as humanity began to rebuild, they discovered something unexpected in the quantum data they'd gathered. The Concordats' rigid adherence to their established principles hadn't just limited their technological development. It had prevented them from seeing countless wonders of the universe that didn't fit their predetermined patterns. Dr. Chen's analysis revealed that humanity's impossible innovations had opened up entirely new fields of scientific discovery. The very principles they had used to defend Earth could revolutionize their understanding of the cosmos. 1 year later, Torres stood on the observation deck of the Humanity's Hope, watching as a new type of ship prepared for its maiden voyage. This vessel wasn't built for war. It was designed to explore the possibilities that the Concordat had never imagined existed. "We could have pursued them," Rodriguez said, standing beside him. "Taken the fight to their empire." "That's exactly what they would have done," Torres replied. "But humanity's strength isn't just in our ability to fight. It's in our ability to imagine better possibilities. We didn't just prove we could survive. We proved we could think in ways they never considered possible." As the exploration vessel disappeared into the quantum slipstream, using principles that the Concordat had deemed impossible, humanity looked to the stars with new eyes. They had faced extinction and emerged stronger, not just through force of arms, but through the power of human imagination and innovation. The galaxy would never be the same. And somewhere out there, the Concordat was learning a lesson that humanity had always known. The universe wasn't limited by what you believed possible. It was only limited by what you could imagine.